Hello everybody, this is Will Sellenrod with Collector Chassis. Welcome to another exciting episode. Today we're going to be talking to a collector who's got BMWs and muscle cars, and let me introduce you to him. His name is Greg. Hey Greg,
Hi, Will.
Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And we're going to walk through these garages and see what you have. So
Sure.
Let's go ahead and get started. Sound good?
Sure. Let's put 'em up.
So what are we going to see in this first garage then?
This is a 91 850. I always like the style of these cars. They've aged really well for a design that came out in the 80s.
And this is your son, by the way.
My
So.
son Ryan. I'll
Ryan?
open the garage door.
Nice to meet you.
So, right.
Okay, yeah, let's start peeling it back and
So as you can see, it's stick. There's
Yeah.
a few stick V12s out there unless you're spending some real coin.
was this a car you were specifically looking for then? Or
Yeah.
you just happened to come across it?
I wanted one that wasn't black, silver, or gray, and which stuff seems the bulk of them are. And it didn't have a gray interior, so and it was stick, had to be stick. So that fit the bill.
And what color red is this one then?
This is brilliant red. So
Okay.
we got a lot of shades. It really pops out of my son.
Yeah.
It's the original paint. It's got a few nicks here and there, but overall it shows real well.
Well, we got the 850 out of the garage, and as you can see, there's two things here that kind of stand out that Greg pointed out. One is it's the V12, and the other one is stick V12, right, Greg? I mean, that's something that you specifically look for, right?
Right.
Stick shift.
On the 850s, it's kind of a gentleman's touring car, so if someone's got a lot of money. Back in the day, I forget to stick it out at like 60-something thousand. This is 1991, so that's some serious coin. So 90% plus were automatic. So it's stick.
Really? So only 10% were stick then? I mean, that's a rare car.
All the CSIs they made from 94 to 96, I believe, those were all stick. Those only a few hundred.
Okay.
Those bring super money, but this is kind of a four-man CSI because it's got all the same attributes. The motor's a little less tuned and such, but it's stick and they're rare, so that's why. And all the 840s are all automatic. So again, the color drew me to it. The low mileage and it's got 52,000-ish on it, and the fact that we stick, it makes a real difference.
Well, it's got a nice low rumble. I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but this is a aftermarket exhaust that you have on this car then?
Correct. The prior owner did a few mods, which I kind of liked all of them. One of which was MagnaFlow exhaust on it. He put H&R lowering springs on it to give it a little stance, and then put the Empires on it with a polished lip, which I like those as well.
And the Empires, you're talking about the wheels then, right? So
Oh.
those are wider wheels than what normally came on this car?
A little bit. I think there's more of a lift than the original one. Yeah, in the rear for sure.
Okay, so they are staggered then.
Yeah.
With that stick shift, you're probably extracting all the performance out of that V12, right? You were mentioning earlier when it's an automatic, you're kind of stuck with what the automatic wants to do, right?
Exactly. It really wakes up because I got two 750s or had, I'm on the one now, and the same, similar motor, and it just makes such a difference being stick. You can control it a lot more. And the gearing on the box is a little crazy. You never use 6th gear in this thing. It's geared to go, as you pointed out, Will, like 80 on the Autobahn. So unless you're massively speeding, sixth gear, it's like the thing's barely chugging when you're on the highway.
So what typically are you driving, like first through third around town? And that's pretty much it?
It's geared, yeah. If you're on the highway, fourth or fifth. And sixth is, the RPMs are so low, you got nothing. It's like less than 2,000 RPM highway speeds.
Wow. Well, let's check out the engine then. Let's see what the 12 cylinders look like. Good thing you got a one-arm paper hanger then.
You'd be in trouble.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Boy, that's really clean.
They cleaned all the cosmoline off of here that was on there that took forever.
Yeah.
Things like this is always broken if you look at these. Just some of these little valves and hoses that were all, it doesn't leak at all. You look in the garage where it was, it's dry. But I had to do a bunch of stuff to stop it.
So where do you draw the line on how much you do versus how much you get to
The paint work for big jobs, like I paint the whole car and stuff, I definitely outsource. You'll see the work on some of the older ones that these guys have been using for years. And everything else I do myself. Doing my first timing chain guide job on a M62 TU update. I got a location. So I bought the tool like 3 years ago, and I got I don't know how many of those motors. I think 15 of them or something cars with them. So I'm like, I'm going to get caught with a timing chain guide eventually. Yeah. So, but everything else, transmission swap, pulling engines, I'll do it myself.
That's really smooth, isn't it, for 12 cylinders? I mean, that just feels like turbine smooth. All right, so we just saw what was behind door number one, this gorgeous 850 BMW. And now we're going to see what's behind door number two. What are we going to see here, Greg?
This is 1958 Chrysler Windsor. This is the low end of the lineup, but regardless, because of its 50s, it's still got a lot of pizzazz to it.
Look at how big this is, folks.
This is the fins, the 50s fins. This is what got GM running. When they saw these fins in 57, that's why a 59 Cadillac has huge fins. It's got 36,000 original miles on it, and it wasn't this color originally, but it was tan with a white top, but I switched it to black to give it a little more zip, and the body is so straight and it's rust-free, and these cars are notorious for being rust buckets.
Well, so how much work did you have to do to this car then?
It's a frame-on restoration because the mileage was so low and it had been stored in an airplane hangar since 1971. I still got the plate actually in the trunk here that you can see. The original plate that was still on the car when I bought it from Illinois in 1971. That's the original spare tire. Still holds there, amazingly, despite the dry rot. But it needed going over completely. The paint's been redone. The bumpers have been re-chromed, and all the chrome work, basically exterior chrome has been redone, all the stainless I polished. The interior is pretty much original, unbelievably, except for the cloth. I found NOS, new old stock cloth, and I had a friend who did upholstery work, painstakingly sewed in the new cloth in the old vinyl in the same holes, sat there and restitched it all.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he's meticulous, and his cars are beautiful.
Yeah. Wow, it's gorgeous. It's so big. How long is this car? Like over 20 feet?
No, I think it's probably high 18s, 18 and change. But this was the shorter one, actually. The front clip is off a Dodge. The front end is unique just to this low-end model, and it's the model that, if you know anything about Mopar, squeezed out DeSoto, because the pecking order was Chrysler at the top rung, then DeSoto, then Dodge, and they put this is a low-end Chrysler, so it kind of squeezed out DeSoto, and like 3 years later, DeSoto was gone.
Okay. So then what engine would this car have in it?
It's got a unique motor called a polyspherical motor. So it's basically a semi-Hemi that if you took the heads and swapped them from a Hemi motor, the famed Chrysler Hemi, will fit on this block. But to save money on the cheaper cars, they put this normal rocker arm head in it. And they only made that engine for 4 years from 55 to 58. And this is a 354 polyspherical. So it's runs great. They admit you can't find performance parts for it because it's such an oddball motor.
All right, well, let's back it out.
Sure.
Yep. much, and it's just even more gorgeous in the sunlight. And Greg, what else can you tell us about this car?
Well, it's the first Chrysler Mopar I ever bought, and it made me fall in love with these Virgil Exner design cars, and to find a whole bunch more. But this is low mileage, as I said. Was in an airplane hangar for years, rust-free, pretty much one little dime-sized hole in the back where the trim was, and that's it. So I deserved a beautiful paint job, so I had the Gerard at North Point Restoration over in Westbury do the work. I saw he had a black Corvette that was that straight. I said, "You get fiberglass this straight?" So the money went into the paint job and the chrome on this, but fortunately, the interior chrome, there was a million bits and pieces in there.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was beautiful. So it only was the exterior. Because at one point the car sat outdoors for a little while, and the chrome got a little messed up. But it never got rusty. Just had some surface rust on it and stuff, so it all came back beautifully. The motor's completely original. I never took it apart. Just freshened up the engine compartment.
Well, you said something earlier. Now, if you notice the color of this roof, you said the whole car was this color before?
Correct. All the bottom was brown and the top was white, so it just looked kind of
Oh,
plain.
okay. So this was white.
Correct.
Wow. Yeah.
That was
This-
brown. Yeah.
This looks so much better.
It's slinky. I mean, with this
Yeah.
one. And this, and for a 58, this has very minimal trim. Just this one stripe.
Yeah.
That's a, partly because it's a low-end car, so they didn't really jazz it up. But it's, I think it looks just right.
Yeah, I do too.
Again, it's a 354 poly. Everybody makes fun of the carburetor. It is a two-barrel.
Yeah, that's what
it looks dinky. I know. People laugh when they see the carburetor. But
Yeah, you'd think it would have a big 4-barrel Holly.
yeah, no, the Saratoga did. The next step up had a 4-barrel 354. This is a 2-barrel. But it doesn't only hurt you if you're doing like highway speeds up that hill.
Yeah.
Other than that, but she runs quiet. One of the valves was stuck when I first got it because it had been sitting for 25 years since I was 3 years old. So we got it going. I've had the car probably almost 20 years now.
Okay.
And it was painted quite a while ago, but as you can see, it's held up beautifully because it's babied all the time.
Now, is this for the wiper fluid, this bag?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
I always think that's so cool when the older cars had that bag there.
It's got funky things like look at the brake booster. That whole thing squishes in when you step on the brakes.
Oh, right here?
Yeah,
This whole thing like an accordion?
Yeah.
So this whole thing compresses.
Yeah.
And this interior is all original.
Correct. Except, well, the rug is new, but all the door panels and all the armrests and all this vinyl is all original. Just that center material just kind of rotted out for me.
And do they have an AM/FM radio, or with the?
There was no FM, I think, until 62 or 3
All
or
right,
somewhere.
so
in
it's
there.
still all AM then.
I think so. Actually, no, I think I had a 58 Lincoln, and they had an optional whole little box you could put on the floor.
Okay.
So I could be wrong, but this just AM.
So
but
where's the transmission push button? I don't see it. Oh, it's over there.
Right.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
the car has no park either. You can see the emergency brake pulled out.
Yeah.
If I left the car sitting here with the keys in it, nobody could probably
See it
steal
over
it
there on the left?
because they never figure out how to start it because you have to press in the neutral button to start it.
Oh, okay.
Turn the ignition on, then press the neutral button and to crank the engine.
So over the 20 years then, I mean, you really just had it painted, and outside of that, it's pretty much original, right? Or
Oh,
are the
yeah.
wheels different then? Did
Oh,
you
right.
put those on?
It had hubcaps, originally with some thin white walls, but
Okay.
it deserves a little fancier looking
Yeah, I
wire
think
wheels.
that was a good call.
Yeah.
So outside of that, you really haven't had to do a lot. You just enjoy it then.
This wasn't a frame off because it's so clean underneath. I mean, I cleaned everything up. The underside's as good as the top, but it's not been taken
Yeah.
apart and rotisserie like the other cars.
Okay.
But it drives beautifully. It made me fall in love with these Mopars with their torsion bar suspension.
Yeah, just the sweeping lines. Whoever did the bodywork did an incredible job. I mean, I can not imagine the amount of sanding this car required just because it's so big.
I've painted half a dozen cars in my life, and I know where to draw the line because to get it this straight, you see every flaw with black.
Yeah. Well, and when you're painting something so massive, sometimes the paint dries a little too soon, right? Before you.
This is
get the
single
second-
stage, actually. As shiny as it is, there's no clear coat on this
Oh,
car.
okay. This is all single.
It's one of the last
stage.
single stage. I don't even think they make this paint anymore. It's German paint. Spies Hecker, I think it is. So,
Wow. And these fins are just so cool. Now, where do you fill the gas?
it's normal.
Oh, okay. On the
Yeah,
side.
my 57 Chevy, yes, it's a trick.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a
I
trick
knew
in
they
the-
had something in the tail light, so
Yeah,
I
no
went,
trick. Yeah, they did the thing on the side.
okay. we have another car here, Greg, and it's not behind a garage, but it's under a fantastic carport here. So what are we looking at here?
Sure, this is my true love is E38 Beamers, and this is a 740i short wheelbase with the sport package 2001. That's the best of the best in my opinion for E38s.
Yeah, because what was the year the E38 was made, do you remember?
95 to 2001.
Okay, so the last year you always prefer? They
facelifted them in 99 and came out with the sport package that year. But only 01 has the painted rockers that match the rest of the car. So that on certain colors, this isn't too bad with blue, but with like white, you gotta have the 01 because the rockers are all the same color. It just looks so good. Yeah. So in this one in particular, I like blue. I have a number of blue BMWs, but this is Orient Blue. And it's got what I really want is the oyster interior, which is pretty rare, the blue and almost white interior.
Okay.
But again, because it has the sport package and it's got that interior, I rescued it. It needed a lot of love. So
what you mean, the interior was just really dirty, or what kind of
whole
work
car
did you have to do? Okay.
Everything. I mean, I'll pop the hood on it.
All right.
This was leaking every fluid known to man. I think that, I mean, when you buy a car and the guy gives you like power steering fluid and coolant and everything, it's like, you know.
Yeah,
it's like
a telltale
he's always
sign.
adding it because it's constantly leaking. It was just leaking everything like crazy. But that didn't.
So are we talking about oil pan gaskets and valve cover gaskets? And I mean, how far did you have to go?
The view, anybody who's knows these BMW M62 TU, especially engines, they just leak like crazy. Usually it's the upper timing covers and these parts here, and then the valve cover gasket. So I did all of that, you know, radiator, thermostat, all the power steering hoses, they always leak. I had to replace this can because the check valve in it was bad. It was making the Vanos rattle when you start the motor, and the aux fan wasn't working. They always break. You got to pull the front bumper off to get that out. You know, for the pusher fan for the condenser.
So is some of this work intimidating, or how do you address that? You just kind of take it a step at a time?
Yeah, I'm just meticulous about when I take the chain guide covers off and all that, just trying to keep everything neat and organized, and just degreasing everything all by hand. I don't want to use a power washer in here because all the electronics, forget about it. You'll just make a disaster out of things. So just sit there by hand and clean away at it. So one of my sons drives.
So you have like a brush then and a special degreaser that you use?
Toothbrush and a rag, and just get in there and just go to town. So there's pictures of it on my Instagram. You can see what it looked like before and after, and it's just, you know, it's you know, I just love these cars. It's a passion project. This is the 18th one of these I've owned, these E38s. I've got 7 or 8 of them currently, including like a parts car. So it's I just got a thing for them.
Well, now, did you start with the muscle cars? Because I know you were saying that you owned the Chrysler for over 20 years.
Correct.
Did you start with them and then go to BMW? And kind of how'd you make that transition?
Right. I like big cars, and I'm 6'2", and I just like big cars. I have a 57 Chevy. It was my first one, and this is a German muscle car, especially with the sport package, rear-wheel drive. It's got a rake on it from the factory. I mean, this is kind of, and these handles so good, even though as big as they are. So I just. You know.
So how did you first get introduced to BMW?
I had someone ask me that the other day. I think it was in grad school. My friend had just gotten a job and got a signing bonus. He was from India, and he's like, "Oh, I always wanted an M3." So we went down to the BMW dealership in Pittsburgh, and he got a E36 M3.
Okay.
And on the showroom floor in 1996 was this brand new 7 Series they just come out with the year before, and I'm like, woo! I'm like, I like the looks of that. Yeah. So the first one I bought was a used 740i in this color with a sand interior.
So that was an E38 then?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was my first BMW, E38 in this color with a sand interior. It was a 95 off lease in 1998. I couldn't afford a new one at the time, so and that began it.
And you were hooked ever since.
Yeah, and then I kind of figured out about the sport package and the short wheelbase. You know, that was a short wheelbase, but then the next one I had was an IL, a 2000 with all options on it, but you can feel the difference driving in between the I and the IL. You can only get this color scheme on a blue car. You had to have Brits or Orient to get this blue, and then they had it in green too. Green exterior. But it was pretty rare. I guess it wasn't popular.
And what about the wheels? Are these the factory wheels that came with the car then?
Yeah, I didn't even have to recondition them. They were quite nice. That was one of the benefits of the car. But the guy had tires on it that were so dry rotted, it was like sketchy driving it back. I picked it up in the Bronx. And I'm like, trying to avoid potholes and stuff, trying to make it home. So it's like these
Yeah,
tires.
the paint otherwise looks really good. I mean,
Yeah, I spent weeks on the paint.
did you color sand it then and do this? You did the sanding and then you did the
touch up all
buffing
the yes, yeah, that's very, oh my god, that was weeks. But it came out, that's trunk lid, we had to take it off. They had a PDR guy come. He took the trunk lid off so we could get inside of it to pop the dents out of it.
Okay.
So I spent a fair bit on PDR, but it really brings the car up.
Yeah, oh yeah, it looks fantastic. So hidden in the back of this house is another garage where we're gonna open the doors and share some more cars with everybody. So let's go ahead and see what's behind these doors.
Sure, feel free to grab the other
Should I grab this one?
Absolutely.
Okay. So what are we looking at here now, Ryan? This is your car, right?
This is my daily, that's correct.
Okay. And what year, make, model? What is this?
Yeah, so this is a 2001 BMW 540 Sport.
Okay.
Lucky enough to have the 6-speed transmission, which is the reason I decided to buy it. It's got 74,000 miles on it. The prior owner I bought the car off of decided to do this cool frozen paint job. It's a sterling gray metallic.
Oh, so it's actually a paint job then?
Yeah, no, it's a
Okay.
paint job, and it's funny you say that. Every single person that comments about this car, oh, it's a wrap.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a wrap.
What was this car? What color was this originally then?
Just titanium silver. And you
Okay.
can see when you pop the hood in the inner fenders, it's still the original silver.
Yeah, oh, and it's just so awesome you were able to find a manual because that's what really makes this car special.
Absolutely.
And then this is what year?
It's a 2001, so it's
Okay.
the first year for the facelift. You got the updated taillights, headlights, upgraded. And I've also done a whole bunch of modifications to this car myself besides the prior owner.
Oh, okay.
I put European headlights in. These look great. I thought it looked good with the silver.
Yeah, it does. It sets it off nice.
Yep. E39 M5 front bumper.
Okay.
Avant-garde 18-inch style wheels.
The emblem's a little different, right? You did the upgrade on that too.
Yeah, normally I'm not a big fan of that, to be honest with you, but I thought with how heavily modified this car was to begin with, that it just kind of fit.
Yeah, it looks good. You did the blacked out front grills.
Yep, absolutely.
Now you've always, was BMW your first car then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, I drove.
Was your dad an influence in that?
Yep, my father's first car. His first car he ever ordered new. 2000 BMW 528 Sport Wagon.
Okay.
Also a manual as well, so that kind of is what got me into it. My first car I ever drove was stick, so I knew I wasn't going back.
Yeah, excellent. So you do know how to drive a stick, which is kind of rare for guys your age, right?
Yeah, I was, I think one of 2 or 3 people in my grade that drove stick shift out of, say, 200, so sure, I definitely made some car buddies.
I've given lessons to all 4 kids. There we go. Save the manual.
It's also
One of my other sons drives a 546 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
But yeah, the real piece of this car is the interior. My father had the genius idea to buy a blown up 98 528 parts car basically, and it had a blown up transmission, but it had really cool 2-tone eggplant purple and black interior, which honestly works really well with this cool frozen paint.
So what does this car come with? What kind of interior then?
The black sport seats,
Okay.
with the lumbar support and everything. But
So you retained the sport seats, you just went with a different color then?
no, so these technically are the sport seats. They're the standard seats.
Yeah,
The
okay.
sport seats had the little adjustable lumbar support
that's
on the
right.
front. But it's cool because the pre-facelift cars had a lot more interior color options than the post-facelift cars. You just had gray, sand, or black. And the older cars, you actually had more flexibility there with color choices. So that's kind of what makes this pop.
Yeah, it really looks good with this frozen color.
Definitely a unique combo. E39 M5 style trim throughout. M5 only option. E39 M5 steering
And
wheel.
everything, it was just pretty much everything fit then, right? So
Yep,
it was,
absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
And it's got a really nice soft feel. So did you condition the leather
Oh
then?
yeah, absolutely.
Oh, you
Many,
did a
many
lot of
times.
conditioning? Okay.
Many times to get it soft. But I mean, the condition of it was good to start. So given the car that it came at, it had over 120,000 miles on it, it still looks pretty good.
Yeah. And how's the engine then? Did you have to do any more work to that?
Oh yeah, so when I first got the car, I bought it off my father. He had gone through all the mechanicals of the motor, resealed everything basically, all new suspension bits.
The car leaked originally, but now it's pretty dry underneath. Besides the rear main seal leaks a little bit, but other than that, it's
So I'm starting to see a pattern here then. It seems like what you and your brother do is you kind of wait for your dad to recondition the car first, and then you casually tell him that you want the vehicle, right?
Yeah. Looks good, looks good. My son, I bought this for another one of my kids who wanted a stick car. And he's like, he's the one who bought the E90. And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, none of you guys want this? I'm like, it's a one-owner car. One-owner, I don't know why he painted it right at the end, but I'm like, I got a smoking deal on it. I'm like, I went through the whole thing. I said, all right. I said, his condition is you can't sell it. For 2 years after I gave it to him, or sold it to him.
Oh,
so I gave him a good price. I'm like, you can't sell this. So flip this car.
I'm locked into the contract.
Well, the first time I met your son, he had a 7 Series, right?
Yeah, it was black
car
one.
you had before this.
He flipped that one for a fat profit. And I'm like, yeah. So now you're going to use the money. I was like, no.
Oh, I get it. So then you restored it. Then he said, I wanted it. He got the car, and then he flipped it.
Yeah, I paid $6,500 for it. I put all my best parts in it because the car was very nice. All my nice wood trim and I sold it for $20,000. Yeah, I'm like, you know.
And that was the E38. That was the 740i.
Short sport, black on black.
But it's a beautiful car. So Ryan shared his frozen 540 6-speed, and now we're looking at something that's actually, this is kind of a rare car, right? Because if you notice here, AC Schnitzer, it's almost a tongue twister. It's back in this era. This is what year, E38?
2001 again.
Yeah, 2001. And AC Schnitzer was real popular, and they're probably still very popular, but they did a lot with the 7 Series. Can you tell us a little more about this car and the modifications with the AC Schnitzer on it?
Sure, right. The prior owner had gotten this car, which is slate green, which is rare. It wasn't in the catalog. If you were buying the car, people had a special order. It was a color that was stock on his facelifted 540s. But anyhow, they only made, I think, 381 of these in this color green. And only of those, 76 of them, I think, were the short wheelbase. So the short wheelbase, one short wheelbase. And with the sport package, it's probably like 30. So, you know, find another. I was chasing another one, had a different color interior at one point, but I lost it. This car, the Schnitzer accessories, this guy put them all on beforehand, and I give him credit because I've never seen these exhaust tips anywhere.
Yeah,
this whole lower valance. I mean, they look great. Some people just hack up this back bumper usually to put the tips on, and it just looks terrible. This looks really nice the way it's finished like that. It has, I have the stripes. At one point, he did put stripes on the side. I thought they looked a little not good much, a little busy. He's got that 7 decal in the back here and this. And, you know, this is not enough. You see those all the time. People reproduce those. But these mirrors, I've never seen them again. These are specific to this car. These Schnitzer mirrors. And then, of course, the Schnitzer, these rims. You see a lot of Schnitzer rims, but not this style. I think this is a Type 4. These are 20 inches, so they're pretty.
Oh, yeah, because they fill that wheel well out really
Yeah.
nicely. Did you do spacers on these then, too?
I don't think there's spacers on them, actually. I'm trying to remember.
But they're probably wider than stock, then, too.
Yeah.
Bigger diameter, more width.
Correct. And, right, obviously being 20 inch and all, and
Yeah.
it's got coilovers on it that's getting it even lower.
Oh, okay.
So this thing, it's low. The front of this car is so low, it's difficult to drive.
So you're scraping this.
I'm very conscientious of where I'm driving when I'm driving this stuff. But no, it's pretty good considering how big the rims are. It's being retired car, all things considered. It's better than I would have guessed.
Now, Schnitzer didn't really do any performance mods, right? Was it all mostly cosmetic?
Correct. It's looks, you know, I think that was kind of their thing, you know, the rims and then I don't think they even did suspension bits, maybe I could be wrong. The exhaust does have custom exhaust besides, so that's, you could put that in a performance camp, I guess. But for the most part, you're right. It's not like Alpina who took the motor apart and modified it.
Now, when you bought this car, you had to do some work to it too, right? But again, it's all the detailing, the leaks, things like that, right?
Correct.
Some things that didn't work.
Again, a lot of undisclosed issues with the car, but you know, I sorted them out one by one. One of the bigger things, the paint had a fair amount of issues with it. I remember my father saw it because he he was where I got it delivered at the time. He goes, "This isn't as nice as the cars you usually buy." I'm like, "Well, I haven't spent all this time working on it yet."
Yeah.
So now it's come a long ways in terms of the paint and such, and all the mechanical and just little nitpicky things, cosmetic as well.
Well, you know, one of the things I find interesting, and clearly, you know, from talking to you, you experience the same thing, and it's what people's, I guess, interpretation of excellent condition
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
That's,
it's not always the same as yours, right?
no, right. So again, this one, you know, it's got the Alcantara on the inside. It's got monsoon speakers, which is a common mod for the rear deck subwoofers. It's got an Alcantara headliner in it. It's obviously got the shade package in the back, the roll-up shade. The trim's been wrapped in black vinyl.
This interior looks really good too.
It's in nice shape, yeah.
Yeah.
I swapped the front seat of another car, I parted out because it was some issue with it. But other than that, and then the wheel, he'd done that too, the prior
Steering
owner.
wheel, yeah.
The cut bottom, which is nice. You know, it's just a lot of small things that, you know, make the car a little different. Stop making this brace, the strut tower brace. Look, these,
Oh yeah.
yeah, which,
I don't think I've ever even seen a strut tower brace on a 7 Series.
yeah, it was Diana might have made them too, but this is another guy who was making them as well. That I think he might have stopped. But I just cleaned everything up in here again. You know, new motor mounts, new tranny mounts. I mean, it's just, you know, the usual water pump thermostats, radiators, aux fan again on this car. It's just,
You know, the nice thing about staying with a particular year, make, and model is that you know you can anticipate what needs to be done, right?
Exactly. And then I got parts, and they're all, like the Ryan's car, the starter went out on it. I went out to the car, pulled it off, popped in a new one, because the 540s and the 740s, same motor, M62 TU.
Yeah.
So all the parts are interchangeable. You need a sensor, you know, these German cars, that thing snack on sensors. So I've got, you know, plenty of wheel sensors and
Keep
cam
them
sensors.
in your garage.
Exactly.
So now we're going to jump to a muscle car, I guess.
Yep.
This is beautiful. It looks like you clearly had this car repainted. I mean, this is beautiful, lit below the clear coat. Tell us a little bit about this one, Greg.
Sure, yeah, this is a 1970 Plymouth Fury GT. They only made, this is kind of like Plymouth's answer to the Impala Supersport that Chevy would make. Why they waited until 1970 to come out with it, I don't know, and they only made it for 2 years, 70 and 71, and then they dropped it again, so by then, you know, the emissions were cracking down and the muscle cars were starting to die. But I always like big cars again, and this is about as big as you're going to get. This thing's huge, but it handles mint. Despite how giant it is, it feels so agile on the road, you would never imagine the car is as massive as it is, but it's big. But I heavily modified this car despite the fact it's extremely rare. It's rarer than people always talk about Superbirds with the big wing on the back, right?
Yeah.
They had to make, I think, 1,800 plus of those for purposes to qualify to run them. I think on NASCAR, I'm not an expert, but long story short, of these, they only made 666 of them. And I modified it, so I'm like, oh, people might get upset, but I put stripes on here, the ghost stripes in the paint here.
Oh, yeah.
And then they run through from the hood scoops in the front and then all the way back here. This rear spoiler is off a Challenger that's been cut in two and bent to fit this.
Boy, it looks factory.
Right, and then because the Challenger is this much skinnier,
Yeah.
right, it still fits in these, you know, as if it were factory. So, you know, and then I tried to buy, it originally had a stripe that went around the side, it was a decal. Didn't like that, it was a strobe stripe they call it, so instead we did these stripes on the side that are all ghost stripes.
Yeah, I mean, they actually start all the way back here. I don't know if the camera can pick it up. But it starts all the way up here, right?
Right, beautiful.
So how, did you do those all by hand then?
Right, so they all had to be hand laid out with masking tape in there because the blocks vary in length and the space in between the block varies as well as they get smaller and smaller.
Did you measure that out yourself then?
Yes, me and the painter Gerard were working on the one side, and we took many hours. And then by the end of it, he goes, now I got to duplicate the same thing on the other side. So he was not happy, and I forget the number, but I think there's like 185 of them on here, some ridiculous number, because the car is so massive. But again, that was a riff on an AAR CUDA. They had the same, I think a 70 or 71 CUDA had the same graphics package.
Yeah, on the rear quarter panel, right?
Right, yeah, they had the big black one too,
Yeah,
as well as the stripe on the CUDAs, the AARs. That's where the spoiler was the same idea. And then I just did a riff on the Fury thing here at the end. Just it was the one of the other emblems on the car. I had somebody copy that, so we used that. So.
And this is a great touch. I love this top on here.
I didn't even know it did. The car was originally a vinyl top car, and I was trying to get rid of the vinyl top, but you needed a different piece of trim right here, and I couldn't find it. So I said, well, let's stick with the vinyl top. And I saw that watching that show that does all Mopar stuff. He was doing a
graveyard cars.
Right, graveyard cars. Right. He's like talking about gator grain. I'm like, gator grain. So sure enough, this is a legitimate factory option for a 70.
This is a period correct. I mean, it really, I mean, such a big space, right?
Right.
The gator grain looks fantastic on there.
Right. So I
And
kept.
it breaks it up.
Yes, exactly. I like the dullness of this to go with the the contrast and the way this trim, because the shape of the car is a little funny. If with this trim breaking it up, it looks. I think it really helps the way it looks when you don't have it on the car. It just looks a little weird. And then I carried it the riff into the inside here. If you look in the middle of the back seat, you open up the car,
okay.
you can push that. See where the gator grain runs down the back seat.
Oh, the gator grain.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
really cool. You see that between the back seats there?
Right, so this interior is all custom made again because I tried to get an interior package made with vinyl from the Legendary, and they told me to buzz off. I said, I'll send you. This car is built from two cars, the lesser model and the GT. The GT was so rusty that I had to basically take them out of the parts from the other car and make one good car. Mm-hmm. And so I said I had a whole extra set of interior bits, and they still wouldn't do it, so I just had it all made out of leather instead.
So the whole interior now is leather.
Yeah, so it ended up being better.
It looks fantastic. Oh, I can tell right from here,
The brown is couch leather, actually, it's legally for upholstery. So, and then in the trunk, I just, again, customized it here, and then just took, these emblems are from a 69 Dodge Dart GT. So they had a GT name.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Same thing with emblem on the trunk, that's from a Dodge Dart.
Okay, so these are side panels you put in then?
Yeah, just to fill in the,
Yeah.
Then I had again the upholstery guys did that with the inside.
Yeah, it's a nice touch. So let's go ahead and open up this one. Now, Ryan, this is your car, correct?
Yes.
So what's the story behind this?
So this is crazy, actually. In 7th grade, my father bought this 67 Pontiac Le Mans convertible out of New Mexico from a guy named Smokey Beaver. And the car was kind of a wreck. It had bullet holes in the floor. The trunk was rusted through. In the floor, yep, right across the center console. It had a lacquer paint job. It was like a kind of flat red, black interior, automatic car. And basically the car was supposed to be my daily driver for when I turned 16, 17, learned how to drive. But it quickly turned into a frame-off restoration car where now it's only for show. And I probably drive it maybe 10, 15 times a year.
So did your dad do the frame-off restoration then?
No, we did it together. I mean, it all started out with, taking everything apart in the garage, restoring all the individual pieces.
You did it all in this garage here?
Yep, this garage and the other one. But it took probably 2 or 3 years to complete. We drove the car for a while beforehand as is. But then as I got closer to being able to drive, we wanted to restore it and get it to where it should be for high school.
So is this what you would call a resto mod then?
Yeah, I would say so, because it's it's a kind of a combination of newer and older parts. I mean, like for example, the interior is pretty much completely stock, but the two-tone paint job obviously isn't factory. The chip Foots wheels that were put on it isn't factory. And if you look on the hood, my father had the genius idea of putting a '78 Trans Am hood scoop in the hood.
Okay.
So for
Let's
sure,
go take a look at that then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and you got the manual. That's awesome.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. So then you did this cutout here in the hood?
No, well, originally yes.
I cut it out, but it didn't come out so good.
Right. We did it by hand to kind of mock it up to see how it would look.
Mm-hmm.
But when we had the car in for body and paint work, we sourced a 78 Trans Am hood and had the metal fabricator actually cut out the section of the hood and weld it in. So it's actually a factory cutout.
So this is not the one that your dad cut out then?
No,
Yeah.
it's the same hood.
Same hood,
It just did a
yeah.
better job.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks really good. Yeah, let's pop this hood.
Absolutely.
Before you pop it, look at the back of the scoop. So these were never functional.
Oh, they're
Possibly
vacuum.
connected
It's probably vacuum.
Originally they were solidly closed, but
Yeah,
the battery disconnected, that's why.
I can connect you quick.
They're actuated now, so it opens up.
Oh, nice.
And it's lit up inside.
I don't understand why they never made that functional.
I don't know, they were just, the guy sells a kit with a little solenoid in there and you can make it functional, so now it's functional.
So did you and your dad actually take this motor out, completely disassemble it and rebuild it?
So this is actually one of the only pieces of the car that was not completely disassembled, nut and bolt. We just basically resealed the bottom end of the motor, new water pump, things of that nature, but we didn't feel the need to take the motor completely apart because it ran great.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 350 out of a 71 Le Mans. The only thing we did was put a quadrijet carburetor on it with a different intake manifold. Upgraded the radiator, repainted it, resealed it, but other than that, it's basically the way it was when we got the car.
Definitely a show car, not a daily.
No. Yeah. I wanted it to be.
So did you actually drive this to school for a while?
Funny enough, I took my road test upstate when I turned 17, but my parents still wanted me to do driver's ed for the insurance discount.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually was driving this car to driver's ed.
Oh, awesome.
And my instructor just ate that up.
Oh, that,
It was so funny. He was a big old Corvette guy.
Mm-hmm.
So he never made me drive and didn't make me parallel park. It was great.
Yeah. Okay, well, we had a fantastic day here with Greg and his son Ryan. We really enjoyed talking to you guys and learning all about your cars and the stories behind them, what makes them special. So thank you very much for your time.
Well,
Greg.
thank you.
Okay, Ryan,
Absolute pleasure.
you guys are definitely car nuts, I guess, or
Yeah,
car addicts,
It's a
I guess.
disease.
Yeah, and the work you do is fantastic. So thank you so much for your time. It was a real pleasure. Thanks.
Fun.